All right, and now I'm going to go over the special rules for the United States. I've basically covered the political situation, on my political situation video, but it's worthwhile to go over it again for the United States. Again, the United States is neutral in this game until round 5, provided none of these conditions have occurred that would allow premature entry for them into the war. But at the beginning of their turn on round 5, they may declare war. In Out of Box 1914, they have until round 4 to declare war. But for many, many reasons, just in terms of getting the feel, the gameplay right, in my opinion, because the United States didn't really join until late 1917. So just having one more round while they're theoretically neutral, it just feels better. It feels more appropriate. It feels right, in my opinion. Anyway, so just to go over these, they're neutral until round 5, unless either of these conditions happen. If the Central Powers have attacked an American-aligned neutral, very unlikely. That's Brazil and Cuba. It's very unlikely, but always theoretically possible, so it has to be addressed. If the Central Powers align or mobilize a German-aligned neutral, which would be Chile or either Mexican territories. Mexico is 2 territories, as you'll see. Chile just being 1. Side note, on my German video, when I talked about the Zimmermann telegram, and I'll probably talk about more about that later, I don't think I specified that if Germany mobilizes 1 Mexican territory, they cannot send the Zimmermann telegram on the same turn. So basically, in order to send the Zimmermann telegram, in order for Germany to send the Zimmermann telegram, both territories must not be aligned. They can't align it. They cannot align and purchase the Zimmermann telegram in the same turn. They can't do that. And if they've aligned Mexico at all, then they can't purchase the Zimmermann. Make sense? Okay. Anyway, so if the German Empire declares unrestricted submarine warfare, then the United States may declare war. And if the Zimmermann telegram is sent by Germany, they may declare war. All right? So, which would, of course, like I said, align both Mexico territories. Let's see. Or theoretically could align both territories. Basically, you don't find out, just to recap, you do not find out if Mexico has been aligned until the United States declares war. And then at the end of the United States turn, the German player rolls for alignment. So they may then, on their turn, on Germany's next upcoming turn, they may start to do stuff with them over there. All right? Anyway, backing up. So that basically covers that political situation card. And we got a few rules here to cover. The sea movement restriction lift, and the intervention in Latin America, and also just revisiting the Zimmermann telegram a little bit. One other rule that there's not a card for specifically is, although it might be on the field technology summary card, I believe it actually is there. Let me pull that out. Yes, it is actually. Okay. All right. See, I remember things. Anyway. Okay. So add that to the agenda. Okay. So on the bottom of our field technology summary card, you'll see this paragraph, United States supplying of technology. So while neutral, the United States may supply their field technology achievements with allied powers that are at war. They cannot supply to China or the White Movement. The supplied technology cannot be placed until the receiving power begins their turn. So basically, while the United States is neutral, they may share, or not share, sorry, supply. Saying sharing implies they have it and somebody else gets it. No, they supply the technology. So basically, I'm just going to roll for some field technology. So say first turn, United States, they start off with 1 field technology token. They purchase another. They then roll for their tokens. That's a 2 and a 3. That's nothing. That's a 6 and a 1. Okay, so they got 1 breakthrough. Let's see what that or achievement, rather. They got one achievement. Let's see what it is. It is a 4, which is a machine gun. So the United States takes that machine gun and decides of what allied power is at war. So say this is the first turn. Let's say Italy is neutral. Let's say Britain is neutral. Let's say Germany and Austria-Hungary have decided to keep Britain neutral and Italy neutral. That means that the United States can only share this. That also means that Japan's neutral. The United States can only supply. I keep saying share, but out of force of habit. They can only supply this machine gun to either France or Russia. I'm going to give... France already has a machine gun. I'm going to give it to Russia. So I would take this field technology, place it upside down at their capital. Then on Russia's turn, they can take that and place it wherever they want, wherever they can that they want on their turn. So that's basically how that would occur. Once the United States is at war, they can no longer supply field technology to other allied powers that are at war. So that is kind of an incentive for the Central Powers to bring them. If the United States goes hog wild on sharing field technology and just starts getting really lucky, you may want to nip that in the bud and just bring them into the conflict earlier so that that stops happening. Because, yeah, it can be a little frustrating when they're like sending, hey, just send everything to Russia if they're doing that, or send everything to Britain, or send everything to France, you know. So that is a little bit of a stipulation. There isn't, not stipulation, that is a little bit of a, conundrum that you as the Central Powers, when deciding when to bring the United States into the war, you may try to figure out when to bring them into the war so that the supplying of field technology to the other allied powers stops, But maybe, such as is often the case, maybe they're just not lucky with their field technology rolls. Like right now, I should have rolled them separately, but yeah, none of these are achievements. So there you go. So anyway, that basically summarizes the supplying of field technology. Again, here's a little important kind of caveat. If you can't make up your mind what field technology, who to share a field technology to, you can't save it and then share it on another turn. If you're going to save a field technology, then you're going to save that for yourself, basically. On your turn, you have to supply the field technology if you're going to supply it, right? You also, if you roll a 6 and get player's choice, you can't just, okay, I'm going to give whatever this beat is to, you have to make up your mind what technology you're going to choose to share. You can't just keep on to a mystery item and then send it later or whatever. You have to figure out what field technology it is that you're going to select to supply later, and you have to supply it. I'm saying that because of YouTube wars. If you're the U.S. player and you can't make up your mind, you got to make up your mind on your turn what in a YouTube war, what field technology you're picking and who it's going to. All right, you can't just save it to send later, basically. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Okay. All right. So basically, that's the summary of field technology. Now we got these rules to go over. The sea movement restriction lift, which I believe I went over before in the political situation video, but I will go over it again. Basically, on the United States player's turn, if the Central Powers have the Empire point, if it's the United States player's turn and they are neutral and the Central Powers have the Empire point, normally a neutral power has to stay adjacent to their own territories with their sea units. So normally United States, when they start off the game, they have to stay within, like in the Atlantic, they have to stay here, 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 or here. But if on their turn, the Central Powers have the Empire point, that restriction is lifted and they can start sending stuff wherever, as long as, here, let's look at this card. Let's see. Yeah, they may end their movement in any Atlantic Sea Zone 1 through 24, except those both adjacent to Central Power controlled territories and also contain Central Power warships. So if it has just one of those, if it's adjacent to a Central Power territory, but there's no warships, they can end their movement there. So like theoretically, if there's no Central Power ships here, they can make their way all the way up there. But since there's Central Power ships there, they cannot go in that sea zone. Make sense? Okay. I hope so. I'm asking nobody in particular. Right. If there's just Central Power warships, like in this sea zone, then they can go into there. All right. All right. So that's basically it. And this restriction lift does not revert if the Central Powers lose the Empire Point. Neutral warships of the United States do not conduct convoy disruptions. There you go. Okay, and the last little chunk there is intervention in Latin America. So, this is worthy of bringing the rule book out. In the bottom of the political situation page, on page 10, there is the intervention in Latin America chunk right there, okay? And essentially, what that means, I'm just going to spell it out for you. So, during the war, while World War I was raging, in 1915, while the United States was neutral, they invaded Hispaniola because of civil unrest or whatever, but they basically invaded the country and took control of it, took advantage of it a little bit, and took advantage of their resources and their situation that was kind of happening and whatnot. And I'm not going to get into the whole politics of it, but the point is that they invaded Hispaniola. So to kind of represent that, the United States may conduct intervention in Latin America. They cannot align Brazil or Cuba, because those are aligned territories, but they may invade any neutral power that's adjacent to their sea zones, that's adjacent to sea zones that are adjacent to their territories. So you could invade Hispaniola if you want to. You could invade Venezuela. You can invade Colombia. You can invade Ecuador. If for some reason you want to come down here and futz around with these guys, you can do it. If you want to invade Hispaniola, you can do it. If you want to invade Mexico, you can also do that. There's a little bit more of a stipulation with that, though. But anyway, so basically, if you invade one of these minor neutral territories, that's fine. And you take control of that and you boost your IPCs if you manage to take control of it. If you attack them and, let's say you invade Hispaniola and you only get one hit, because you're not at war with the Central Powers, these do not get aligned to the Central Powers right away. They basically just stay neutral. Now, if the Central Powers declare war on you, and this is being futzed with still, then once you become sorry, let me rephrase this. If the United States becomes at war with the Central Powers while they are futzing around with one of these territories or whatever down here, then whatever remaining units then get aligned to the Central Powers. Okay. If they have invaded Mexico, once they're at war with the Central Powers, whatever Mexican units are left get aligned to Germany. And much like the Mongolian rule from 1940, that's basically what I'm going to be talking about, is the kings and Kaisers, the Mongolian rule of kings and Kaisers, essentially. If the Allies in general futz around with either of these three territories, either of these three German-aligned territories, then once the United States or whoever has attacked them, most likely the United States, if the United States once the United States is at war with the Central Powers, whatever remains of these three territories gets aligned to Germany. So if you mess around with Mexico, like you can, but once Germany declares war against you or you're at war with Germany, then Germany gets Chile as well. And then you're going to have to come down here and futz around with Chile again, if you want to, or if you have to, or whatever. Additionally, any of these other territories, if you've messed with either of these aligned territories, any of the neutrals that you've already messed with as well like say you came in down and invaded Colombia and you still got like two guys left that you're supposed to fight against, since these are getting aligned to Germany, these get aligned to Germany as well. Okay, whatever is left of these units, basically. Now, if you have invaded more than one of these territories, of these minor neutral territories, you've invaded Hispaniola and you've invaded Venezuela, then once you're at war with the Central Powers, then Mexico and Chile, even if you haven't futzed with them, those get aligned to the Central Powers as well. So to Germany specifically. So basically, this is a long way of saying America gets one get out of jail free card. One don't trigger Mongolia rule. Essentially, don't trigger Chile and Mexico. You may invade one of these powers here without consequence. Hispaniola, Venezuela, Colombia, or Ecuador. You can invade any of those powers without consequence. But once you invade more than one, there's a consequence, and you'll have to deal with Mexico and Chile as well. So essentially, you're going to I would recommend just either going after Hispaniola or go after Venezuela, because then you can go into Brazil or something like that once you're at war or whatnot. Those are the two smart ones to do. You can do Colombia as well if you want to pull guys back up, invade Colombia and pull guys back up this way. Ecuador doesn't make a whole lot of sense to invade, in my opinion, but just to lump it in there because it is adjacent to your territories. Let's see. Yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, while they are neutral, they cannot come down to these sea zones here while they're neutral. So they can't invade Peru, they can't invade Chile while they're neutral. Even if the sea movement restrictions lift occurs, they can come down here, but they can't invade these ones in Argentina or Uruguay until they're at war. They can only invade the ones that are adjacent to those sea zones. Okay, makes sense? All right, I think I've covered that. Okay, now just to recap a little bit about the Zimmermann telegram again, just a little bit. Germany, again, can buy the Zimmermann telegram for $10 on their turn. If they've done so, I like to use this roundel to mark purchases. This little Mexican roundel. So the number of units in Southwest United States dictates the success rate of the Zimmermann telegram. Okay, so if you have, let's see, again here, I've already covered this in the German video. I'm just going over this again, basically. So you have 20 or more U.S. units. The Zimmermann telegram is only successful on a roll of 1 or 2. On 10 to 19 U.S. units, it's successful on a roll of 1 to 3, or 0 to 9 U.S. units, it is successful on a roll of 1 through 4. So if you have if you have 9 or less units, essentially, if you have 9 or less units here, the Zimmermann telegram becomes successful on a roll of 4 or less, and it is still unsuccessful. Bummer. So on a roll of, if there's 19 or between 19 and 10 units, let's see, still unsuccessful. And if there's 20 or more units, only successful on a roll of a 1 or 2. Roll of a 1, dang, okay. So there you go. But then, makes it easier for US to conquer it right away. So depending on what you want to do, how things play out, choose whether you want to do it or not. In some situations, it can be good to do. Some situations, maybe not, but, And then also, if it's successful, southern Mexico gets a military base, and both of these territories get aligned to Germany. Chile does not get affected by the Zimmermann telegram unless the United States has decided to just invade Mexico anyway because Germany sent the Zimmermann telegram, Okay, so that's about it in terms of the special rules for the major nations. I guess I should do one for China just to cover that a little bit more, but for the time being, I'm just going to leave it at that for now. So yeah, that is the rules for the United States and the Kings and Kaisers. So take care. If you have questions, put them in the comments, and I will be more than happy to answer them.